With the recent release of the Club Sport Neomatic 42 Date Blue and its more conventional bracelet, today I want to look at the evolution of Nomos. So first, a little bit of background and its place in German watchmaking. Second, maybe why its strong design language and brand DNA still keeps it a little bit of a niche brand within the watch community. And third, finally, the evolution of that design language and why I like maybe the less Nomos Nomos. Hi everyone and welcome, I'm Ben. So first, a little bit of background about Nomos. The brand was started in 1990, so it's still a very young brand, but within the last 30 years, they've grown to become the largest mechanical watches manufacturer in Germany, with about 20,000 watches a year. So if you compare that with other brands in Germany, the second largest would probably be Glashütte Original, with about 15,000 watches a year, and for reference, Alange Unsene only produces about 5,000 watches a year. So today Nomos is synonymous with probably the best value luxury watchmaking for under 5,000 euros. And why is that? So there are a couple different factors, and we could look at the quality of finishing and production and the German engineering, but I think the number one USP of Nomos is the fact that they produce 13 different in-house manufacturer calibers for mostly under 5,000 euros. At the beginning in 1990, they were reliant on third-party manufacturers such as ETA, but very quickly they started investing in R&D and very innovative solutions like the efficiency of the improved gear train to deliver up to 94%, I think, of the energy of the mainspring to the escapement, or the swing system escapement that they've been able to deliver for their newer automatic movements. So if you couple that with the finishing of the movements that are probably the best finished movements that you'll find at that price, and the different designs and the overall value that they deliver for under 5,000 euro, why are they not more popular? Because in the grand scheme of things, it's only 20,000 units per year, and compare that with a lot of other brands, it's still a very niche brand. So second, we'll look at their brand DNA and their design language. So now let's look at Nomos brand DNA and its design language. So the design language of Nomos is very heavily inspired by Bauhaus. So what is Bauhaus? You may have heard of it. It was a German art school between 1919 and 1933. It was started by a German architect, and without going deep into it, he was trying to combine the ideas of architecture and mass productions and modern aesthetics and functional design, and it turned out to be a very influential art movement up to these days. But the thing is that it is not for everyone, and it is what we can call less conventional. So by going with Bauhaus, basically Nomos has a very strong brand DNA, but it can make it hard to connect with everyone or a wider audience. So for example, if we look at the earlier design from Nomos, when they came up with the Orion and the Tokkkante and the Ludwig, those are very, in a way, kind of cold design. And I've read, in different places how some people think Nomos designs are very cold. They usually have printed dials and with very typically Bauhaus numerals, and they can be very cold. The other thing is that the lugs are very long, and that's a very unique aspect of Nomos. I mean, it defines the brand, but a lot of people are complaining that the lugs make it very difficult to wear Nomos. Also, most of their watches are very dressy. It is a dressy watch brand at the core, and now you could say that dress watches are kind of not in. More casual watches or sports watches are all the rage right now, but less people are wearing dress watches. They're kind of coming back, but overall more casual or sports watches are more popular. And then fourth is their bracelets. Nomos watches up until recently only came on straps, very good straps, but they didn't offer bracelets. And when they came up with bracelets, the first two designs were, sure we'll say, also less conventional and very unique in their design, but maybe not with a very wide appeal. So one could say that all these Bauhaus-inspired design clues have made it somewhat more difficult for Nomos to expand into a more contemporary audience, maybe more sports casual kind of watch market. However, I think that now Nomos is evolving, it has matured, and it has been able to come up with new designs that are more maybe appealing to a wider audience without losing its brand character. So third, we'll look at the less Nomos designs that I actually like. Third, let's look at the less Nomos. So the ones that I like are the ones that actually have less hardcore Bauhaus DNA. So for example, the Club Collection or the Autobahn or the Zurich Wall Time. So I've read in several places in the forum or professional reviews by watch journalists that those Nomos have less Nomos DNA. but I think actually they still have plenty of Nomos character. It's just that they have less Bauhaus DNA. So to me, those are still very much Nomos. It's just that they are less maybe hardcore Bauhaus and more tame. So within my top 3 favorite Nomos collections, first let's look at the Club collection. So this one was launched by Nomos in order to appeal to a wider, younger audience. And it has actually become one of the most popular Nomos. First because it's more entry level and it's more accessible, but also because it's younger and it has a quirky use of different colors, and it also has the sport sub-collection within the Club collection. So you have the Club Campus and then you have the Club Sport. So the new one that was just released, the Club Sport Neomatic 42 Date Blue, follows the introduction of the black dial version already maybe a couple of years ago. And this one also has the introduction of the newer bracelet, a more conventional, oyster style, 3-part bracelet. And so I think that's going to be a winner for Nomos because it's going to appeal to a wider audience. Now, my concern is that it's probably a bit too big. It's a 52.3 lug to lug, and that's even longer than my Longines Legend diver, so which is already not a daily driver. So this one, I wonder how it's going to wear, but I'm afraid it's going to wear a bit too big. It's too bad. I would have loved to have it like a little bit smaller. And also there's a whole lot of polish on this bracelet. The clasp is polished, and I don't know why they go with a fully polished clasp, because that's gonna scratch right away. But that's a very Nomos thing to do. But I'm looking forward to seeing this watch because I'm hoping that it would work. I think this watch is gonna be a game changer for Nomos, going into maybe a more conventional direction, but still keeping a lot of Nomos character. So the second one is the Autobahn, and I've read articles describing this one as the least Nomos Nomos because it basically has very few or none at all Bauhaus DNA or character into it. And also it's a very, very different directions from what they usually do, but I love the Autobahn, I love it. Maybe the fact that it's so different and it has a strong character, maybe either you love it or you don't, but I actually like this one. It also has the same movement as the new Club Sport Neomatic 42 blue or black dial. So you're getting the same movement into a very, very daring design. And they've just released the director's cut with the yellow one and the orange one. So those are even more out there, with the bracelet that I'm not a big fan of, also fully polished. But at least, they're taking a stand with this watch and I love it. My concern is that maybe I would get tired of it after a year, and it's probably not the easiest thing to resell a Nomos without taking a bath. And the third one is the Zurich Wall Time. So this one is widely loved. I think a lot of people love this one. It's the most complicated Nomos with the GMT World Time. It's not really a true world time, but let's call it a world time. I think Wern and Wound also has described this one as the least Nomos Nomos, or the least Bauhaus Nomos, which to me is not a bad thing, and this is also why I like it. This one wears well. I've seen it. It's very beautiful. The thing is that it's using one of the older movement architecture, still in-house with a module on top, but you're not benefiting from the newer swing system escapement and the newer movement, thinner movement that they have in the Club Sport or even in the Autobahn. So I think Nomos is coming into its own. It's developing a distinct brand identity that is not just tied to Bauhaus. I think it has gone beyond Bauhaus now and is developing its own design codes with the influence of Bauhaus from the early days of Nomos, but now it's moving into a new direction without losing its way. So in conclusion, circling back to the opening, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Club Sport Neomatic 42 Date Blue. I'm really hoping that this one would work, and I think it's priced really well. But if not, another one that I would consider, still within the Club collection, is the Club Campus, a Neomatic 39, a little bit smaller, very thin at 8.4 millimeter, with a 3 series movement, but still a very good movement with a swing system. What do you think about Nomos? Are you hot or cold with Nomos? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to ask yourself what makes you tick. Subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.